This is Newsline. I am Michael Chugani. Tonight, a very special guest, the man who wants to be our next chief executive, Leung Chun-Ying, or C.Y. Leung, as some like to call him. Thank you, Mr. Leung.
Thank you, Michael.
For being on the show. You've been here before.
Yes.
I want to start by saying that a few weeks ago, Henry Tang, your opponent in the chief executive election, was here. It's really a race between you and him. Albert Ho, the Democrat candidate, he admits himself does not have a chance to win this election. It's between you, Mr. Leung, and Mr. Henry Tang. I asked Henry Tang the same question. I'm going to ask you the same question. We don't have a vote. People in Hong Kong don't have a vote. 1,200 people in an election committee, they have to vote. But if I had a vote, why should I vote for you instead of Henry Tang? How do you differ from Henry Tang?
I shouldn't comment on Henry Tang. I know what I stand for. I have published 11 parts of my policy manifesto.
That's correct.
Ranging from housing to population policy to land matters, all the way to the 3 parts that we announced yesterday, namely sports, culture, and the environment. So the people in Hong Kong should know what I stand for. More importantly, although the constitutional arrangement at the present it gives candidates only 2 audiences, and this is the central authorities and the 1,200 members of the election committee. I have intentionally added the 3rd audience to this because I want to be accountable.
This is the general public? The
general public, 7 million people in Hong Kong.
But you still haven't told me why the general public, since you've added it, why we should vote for you. Okay, it's understood that you don't want to talk about Henry Tang, but tell us how you differ from him that give us a reason to vote for you if we had the vote.
Firstly, I want to engage the general public. I've seen this in my electioneering in the past couple of months. I brought myself to the neighborhoods, I brought myself to all the different strata of Hong Kong society. I have organized public fora so that I could speak to them, so that I could listen to them, and I want to sort of bring their views into my policy manifesto drafting process. And that's one very important differentiation in my view. And this is a general attitude of accountability to the general public. And that's why I believe that all candidates should be talking about issues.
Are you saying your opponent is not talking about the issues?
Well, you see, so far there's been a very funny arrangement. I have not seen this in other societies, in other elections. 3, at one stage 4, when Frederick Fung was running and I was dropped out. 4 possible candidates were invited by election committee members of a particular subsector, for example. And then we turned up one after another, and this practice carries on.
It's not together, one after the other, right?
In a sort of sequential sort of way. And the 4 possible candidates were asked the same questions by the same election committee members.
So you're saying the people really cannot understand the difference between the candidates that way?
And it went on for 3 or 4 hours, the same questions. What's more important is that the later candidates get to know the questions because they would be sort of sitting at home in the office or watching the telecast of the process. So it's all very strange.
So that's not fair as well.
So why can't we just sit down together and face to face so that people can actually compare?
But the thing is, Henry Tang, your opponent, does make a point that none of you have been nominated as formal candidates yet, and he will debate you face to face, he says, once you are an actual candidate. Isn't that a fair point?
But that doesn't stop Mr. Henry Tang or myself or Albert Ho from agreeing to go through these sessions. That doesn't stop the election committee members
if they want to, they can do it.
From inviting them. And apparently each and every of these 3 or 4 possible candidates have accepted each and every invitation. No, each and every invitation we have accepted. But on each and every occasion we are there separately.
Well, you talked about the public. You've added a 3rd factor to this, and you want to be accountable to the public. I'm going to ask you this. In the election in March, 1,200 people can vote. Now, your popularity rating is higher than Henry Tang's. It is narrowing a bit, but it's still higher. If the people were to vote rather than the 1,200 people Do you think you have a better chance to win? Do you think you will win?
I am very confident that I would win. If
With
this
the
was
people voting rather than 1,200.
If this was a universal franchise kind of election, one man, one vote, I'm equally confident that we'll win in this election. I'm quite confident that I will get the majority support of the 1,200
How
members.
can you say that you will win in this? It's fair enough you say that you will win if there was a free vote. But how can you say that you'll win if it's 1,200 people, this election with 1,200 people? Because right now, you're not even talking about winning the election. You're talking about getting 150 nominations. You're not even sure whether you can get into the race.
The progress is quite encouraging. I'm making good progress. I'm gathering votes. I can't tell you exactly how many nomination votes.
Do you have 150 votes to get into the election?
No, I don't have 150 yet, but I shall get there. All the responses, particularly to my draft policy manifestos, 11 parts of it, are very, very encouraging. I'm the only candidate that has put together a complete and a formal policy manifesto in writing, and I've been getting very, very good feedback from stakeholders and the general public.
So you are quite confident you're going to win this election?
I am very confident.
Well, tell me this. If you are very confident you'll win this election, and if you win, nobody knows at this point. You're confident, but nobody knows at this point. You know, I have a lot of viewers who email me, and then they talk about the different various issues. And a viewer emailed to say that if I ever get the chance to interview C.Y. Leung, which I'm actually doing right now, please ask him this question. You know, I'm going to even going to mention his name. His name is Hong Wai Han, and his wife said, please ask Mr. C.Y. Leung this question. Give a clear answer. How can you narrow the wealth gap in Hong Kong? Will you use the huge surplus to do this? You know, poverty is a big issue in Hong Kong. And you know, Mr. Hong Wai Han's wife says, how are you going to solve this problem? How are you going to help the old people, the elderly people, and the poor people? Give me a clear answer.
It's a major, major issue in Hong Kong. Within the establishment, I was probably the first person who came out speaking loudly and clearly about my concern about poverty in Hong Kong long term, and it's not just a one-off. It's not going to be a temporary issue. And I was supportive of our efforts to legislate for minimum wage a few years ago.
That's correct.
And I incurred the wrath.
I talked to you about that.
Yes, we did. And I incurred the wrath of quite a few in Hong Kong, particularly people in the business sector.
You still haven't given me an answer. How are you going to solve the poverty problem? There's a huge wealth gap.
We have the ability in terms of our public finance. We have
lots of money, that's for sure.
We have lots of money. We have lots of money in our general revenue. We have lots of money in our accumulated surplus.
Our fiscal reserves are now over $600 billion.
Yeah, I'm minded to look at.
Will you use that money to help the poor?
Yes, I will. I'm minded to look at the fiscal reserve in this way, bearing in mind that we are required by the basic law to keep a balanced budget. So year on year, we should be all right. But since we should be all right year on year, how should we regard the fiscal surplus, which is nearly $600
over $600 billion.
$600 billion. I'm minded to use the surplus in 4 ways: social development, which addresses the question of poverty, the environment, and so on and so forth; financial investment; economic investment; and providing for old age.
You use all of it?
Providing, is not using it. As I said, financial investment, economic investment, social investment, and providing for old age. So it's not just expenditure, it's investment as well. So far, all the $600 billion worth of fiscal surplus is used for financial investment, looking for financial return. We should look for social and economic return as well. This is what I'm saying.
Well, okay, that's fine. The financial secretary Wednesday, a few days back, presented his budget, and he underestimated his surplus yet again. We've got nearly $70 billion in surplus. You know, he did a lot for the middle class and so on, but people, as critics, are still saying he has not solved or addressed the issue that you care about, which is poverty. And the grassroots, the really working poor. Has he failed? Has the financial secretary failed in doing his job?
I won't comment on his budget speech, but let me look at it this way.
But how can you not comment the budget speech? Because the budget did not address the issue that you care about.
Comment on the views of CY Leung. Where do we find the poorest people in Hong Kong? In the poorest part of our housing stock, in the private sector, you find the poorest people.
You've got subdivided flats, people living in cage homes.
Yeah, cage homes and best space apartments and so on and so forth. And there are hundreds and thousands of them. Hundreds of thousands of them. The waiting queue to get into public housing units is getting longer. We now have 150,000 application cases, not 150,000 people. And the queue is getting longer by something like 10–15% every year. Why? Because we have not built enough public housing units. Rents in Tsuen Wan.
So I ask you the question again: has the financial secretary failed?
Well, read my policy manifesto on housing and land development and so on. You see, I've put a lot of emphasis on housing for the poor, and this is a most effective way to alleviate poverty. It's not just a matter of giving out more sort of cash handouts or giving rebates here and there. Housing is the most serious issue that impacts on the poor quality of livelihood of people in the bottom.
I always say I can't afford to buy a home in Hong Kong. I don't have the money because property prices are too high.
Well, to a lot of people, Michael, in Hong Kong, it's not a question of buying. It's a question of paying $3,000 a month for a not self-contained bedroom that's 8 feet by 8 feet.
That's correct. It's almost like a coffin.
In Tsuen Wan.
That's amazing, isn't it? You know, we'll pick that up, and we'll pick up some other issues as well just after the break. Don't go away. See you soon.